right, so now the other eggplant. So the other eggplant is either a purple or the white, and you can treat all eggplants virtually the same. These are a little firmer because a little early in the season, but by the time you have them in your basket, they'll be perfectly ripe. So what we're gonna do with these is we're gonna cut them into squares, a big square. We have some onion that we're going to dice, of course some garlic, some beautiful fresh tomatoes, and just for you to know, tomatoes should never go in the refrigerator. They lose half of their flavor when you refrigerate them. There's an enzyme inside that just turns the flavors off, and they do not come back when you bring them back out of the fridge. So never refrigerate them, just keep them on the counter. We have some fresh basil. We're gonna use a little mozzarella pearls, some spaghetti, and then right now is the time to buy at your local grocery store some freshly squeezed olive oil. Really yummy and delicious, very good for you, unfiltered, so it has a lot of nutrients in it as well. So I'm gonna do all the prep, and then I'll be right back when it's time to go and cook. Okay, so we have everything done. All the prep is done. The only thing I still need to cut are the tomatoes. I have the eggplant cut, not peeled. You can leave the peel, the skin on. There's a lot of nutrition in there, and it does not taste bitter, as some people have you believe. You can eat the whole thing. We had enough with just the white one, but you would do the exact same thing with the purple one. Just cut them in a dice. So the pan is hot. We have water on the stove going. What we're gonna do with that is cook our pasta. We're using a nice thick spaghetti. There we go. Put the lid on for just a little bit so it stays nice and warm, and then we'll take it off. Then we're gonna put the flame back on. The wind sometimes gets the best of me. There we go. We're using the good quality olive oil, because part of the oil we're going to eat, so we want to make sure we use the good stuff. You really don't want to use the vegetable oil or anything like that. Then we take our onions, and a lot of the time Italians don't really color their vegetables, but there are some exceptions, and this is one of those times. All right, so the pasta takes about 11 minutes to cook. And it also takes about 11 minutes to cook your sauce. So when the sauce is done, the pasta is done, or vice versa. There we go. We add a little bit of salt to the pan as the onions are cooking. That helps draw out the flavor. Now we are going to use garlic. But since we're going to brown the onions, we will not add the onions until later. So we'll do not burn the onion, the garlic, and get that bitter flavor. By the way, if you ever have anything that is a little bit bitter, a lot of people think that you should add sugar to it, but sugar really doesn't help remove the bitterness. The best thing to do is to add a little salt. To give you an idea, if you have real bitter chocolate or real bitter caramel, they use sea salt for that. And that is the reason they do that, to make it more palatable. All right, all this is going great. So while the tomatoes are cooking, I'm going to cut our tomatoes. I'm just going to dice them as well. Of course, don't forget about your onions. Make sure you keep an eye on them. You see they start to color. Give them a little toss, or with your spoon, give them a little stir. This recipe will feed 4 people, so it's perfect for a family of 4. That's why I'm using 2 tomatoes, 1 whole onion, and then the 1 eggplant. So an eggplant this size is enough to feed 4 people. So our onions are starting to brown. There we go, they have a beautiful color. So then what we do is we remove them from the pan. And then we add our eggplant. we need to add some salt and pepper to season the eggplant. And it is the property of eggplant that absorbs the oil, so you'll have to add some more oil to the pan. If you like to make this spicy, you can add little chili flakes to it, the ones like you get with a pizza box. Those chili flakes go well in here. Or you can use a fresh chili, or if you have Fresno peppers or red jalapenos, that works really well in this dish as well. So now what we want to do is brown the eggplant. Once the eggplant starts to brown, the rest of the ingredients go in, we toss it all together, and then our pasta will be done, and we add that to the pan as well. All right. Oh man, it's hot, but it's good. It just came off the plan, so, you know. All right, so now it's time to add the tomatoes. We add the garlic at this time as well. And then the onions can go back in. There we go. Now we have our basil. Okay, now we need to make sure that the pasta is cooked. The way we do that is not by throwing it against the wall. Number one, we don't have a wall. And number two, that doesn't really work. Just remember, if it sticks against the wall, it's overcooked. Another minute or so, and we'll be done. So in the water, we just have salt and water, that's it. No olive oil. That's an old trick that people like to use to prevent the pasta from sticking. That doesn't work. The oil floats on top, the pasta's in the bottom. It's not gonna prevent it from sticking. What it is gonna prevent it from doing is when you take it out of the water, it will coat itself with that oil, and then it cannot absorb the sauce. The pasta is porous, it is made to absorb the sauce. So the oil is in your sauce, not in your boiling pan. All right, that was about a minute. So then we take the pasta directly from the pasta water into our pan. No straining, no rinsing. We put it directly in the pan. That adds a nice little pasta water to our pan, which adds a little bit of starch that makes everything stick together. And don't worry if you can't throw it like this. You will, just keep practicing. Make sure you got a mop ready. But you can just use your tongs to do that. So we have everything coated. So now the final thing we're gonna put in are our mozzarella balls. So you just drop those all over the place. And if your pan is a little hot and dry, add a little bit more pasta water to it. There. And then we put the lid on and we give it another minute. That will make sure that the pasta is cooked all the way. It starts absorbing all the flavor. And of course your cheese melts and makes a beautiful sauce. So meanwhile, let's get a plate ready and be patient. I know you want to see it, but we have to wait just a little bit. We can turn this one off. So that was about a minute. So then we take the lid off. You see the cheese balls are starting to melt. And all you have to do is fold it in. That makes all the cheese melt. There we go. And then we take our noodles, lay them on the plate. Then we add our tomatoes, onions, cheese, and of course, most importantly, the eggplant. Then we add a little fresh olive oil just to flavor it back up. And there's your dish, ready to go. Enjoy!